So yes, I am smoking on Facebook. This is just a cigarette because I'm tripping out that I finally figured I've been dealing with this conflict of trying to figure out how to explain why people accept life is death, death is life, and then why they're okay with playing the societal constructs. And I'm telling you, it was just like an aha because I'm writing about how life begins, why life ends, the death of a cell, and then the birth of a new cell, or no birth of a new cell, just death altogether. But that's at the micro level. Then you have the macro level, and that's a lot more complicated because you have a lot more cells to deal with, and then so many factors of the environment. Hold on. And I'll tell you, my creative process is this. I eat all the food in the food supply. When I'm figuring some stuff out and my body is tired because of all the thinking, I take a nap. And so I take a nap, I smoke a cigarette, I think about, and so it brings up the juices. You saw a picture of my dog, okay? She reversed the aging process. She did. And that right there tells me that all of my concepts and my hypotheses are correct. And so, and I don't smoke a whole cigarette all the time. I smoke only like little bits of it. And when I'm going through an evolution, I don't smoke. When I feel like evolution, I don't smoke because it's like my body's going through a different evolution at the time. So here's the thing. Pain. See, and I met a PhD scientist who was in the pain management program. Actually, I lived with his girlfriend for a bit and her family, Chinese family. And she also was in the PhD programs and all that stuff with, I don't know what exactly she was studying. I forget. But I met him and he was definitely a force. And he came from Europe. I think he's like Norwegian or something. And so I remember him talking about pain management programs that he was working on. And they're trying to find like the ultimate antibiotic and the ultimate way to stop pain. I'm just like, I wonder what exactly he's discovering or what he's doing. So I haven't followed him. I don't even know his name anymore because it was a very brief moment that I met him. But pain is the crux of why people pass away, because they don't know how to deal with it. And so I'm trying to figure out how to explain in my book why people think life is death and death is life. Why they think that as soon as you live, you start dying. Well, it's because you don't want to feel a pain. Let me tell you, when you're not afraid of pain, and you actually feed the pain food, it will be painful for a minute. Okay, yes, or for a few years or a few weeks, different levels of it, you'll plateau and all that stuff, but it won't be forever. It won't be forever. And so I'm like, holy shit, I figured out why people think life is death and death is life. Why people accept death as the outcome. So as long as they accomplish the societal constructs set out for them, reinforced by their friends and family and community and authority, and then why people are full of anxiety, which basically are conflicting viral programming they never released or neutralized. Okay? So this whole thing with the plus, minus, and equals, now I know how to explain it. Holy shit. So all the cures out there, everyone looking for a cure and everything, that's what makes you think that life is death and death is life. Because you're in a cured state for a certain amount of time, and then you decline because of thermodynamics in the environment. Thermodynamics is going to work against you if you're in a cured state and a cured state of decline. Some people's cured state of declines are longer than others, Others, people's care state of declines are shorter than others. And it's hard to say. That's why there's so much backpedaling and forward pedaling with the CDC and with the FDA, the US, all the different agencies out there trying to figure out how to deal with viruses. They know that they have already characterized life as death, and they're trying to control your life through all the different antibiotics, trying to stop the pain or neutralize the pain. But still, when you neutralize the pain, neutralize means that you're making it neutral, but it's not really neutral because you're still in a dynamic environment. So even though you don't feel the pain, you don't feel all the fireworks, there's still a decline going on within you because you're not evolving. Because you are taking things out of your body, you're redirecting blood vessels, you're shutting down systems in your body that are giving you the indicators. And so that's why people feel like it's a sense of relief when they are going through the medical holistic system, because they have shut down percentages of their body until there's nothing left. So when I said when you mischaracterize pain, you'll be afraid of the heat regardless of the severity. That's why the push for the therapeutics, because the therapeutics are supposed to put you in a sort of a cured state. You feel a little bit of the heat, right? Because that's what they say. You're supposed to feel something when you get a therapeutic. But it's supposed to be short-lived because those algorithms are supposed to attack things that are trying to evolve you, which means that you'll be in a cured state of decline yet again. Okay? So there are 3 ways to deal with pain: plus, minus, and equals. So you feed the pain. Why do you feed the pain? Because they're viruses. Viruses are like I said, if you understand that viruses are the crux of it all, of cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, then you'll get the pattern that's going on here. Okay, so you feed it food, all food. You don't discriminate because you need to regenerate. You need to rebuild your DNA, and you can't be discriminatory. So you feed the viruses, and here's the thing: you have predominant viruses that run everything in your body. They are doing everything for your body, like regenerating and keeping your uterus intact, keeping your heart, lungs, and vital organs intact, and also evolving with the environment. When you start taking out organs and you start neutralizing them with cures and with antibiotics and all this stuff, let me tell you, you will not survive in a dynamic environment. You can survive in a hermetically sealed package, like a plastic beef jerky package, like beef jerky does. But you ain't beef jerky. You're a dynamic individual, and you are flesh and blood. So when you start taking out organs and you can't deal with pain, you will never survive this environment. I don't care how many activist stances you're against the CDC and whatever, you will not survive, so it won't matter. So the crux of dealing with pain is that you feed it until there is no reason for the fireworks, the pain, the energy. Pain is energy. Energy is pain. Okay? And so you feed it. Or what goes on is antibiotic. You start taking out organs. You start taking certain foods that have a high energy threshold, like garlic and turmeric and all the spices, like jalapenos and cinnamon and cayenne pepper. Everything you see in the holistic allopathic and the herbs and the extracts, what you see in what they offer to people in the Truth About Cancer. I unfollowed the Truth About Cancer because they are prescribing and promoting antibiotics on the cancer patients, because the cancer patients don't want to feel pain. They don't know, they don't understand. And so the only way they can temper the pain or disappear it altogether is if they actually destroy you at the micro level. And that's what the oregano oils and all the different oils in the essential oils industry does. They basically destroy you at the micro level. And then you think everything is great because you're in a cured state. Because 20% of your body isn't evolving anymore, even though 80% is still alive, and you're like, oh, I feel great. And even though I have like organs taken out and I've scooped out this and scooped out that, I feel great, until you don't. So the antibiotic industry is so huge, and that's why you cannot make claims on cures and make claims on different protocols when it's about disappearing pain, because it's all antibiotics, anti-life. See, they're telling you life is energy. Then there is the cured state of decline. This is the baby of our whole world. And what runs our world is where you don't feel evolution, but you are still declining. Now, the rate of decline is the difference between what someone is thinking is dangerous and what someone thinking is like, okay. So when you're like, oh, 99% survival rate from this virus, not really when you expect to die someday. When you're trying to take away the pain because you don't want to deal with it, there is no 99% survival rate. It's just the time in between you taking something that's supposed to temper your body's energy of evolution and whether or not you can handle it enough to survive for a day, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. But you don't know what the environment's going to be like in the next 10 years. It could be even more dynamic. And then guess what? You won't survive. Whatever you did to assuage the pain or temper it won't matter anymore what you did 5 years ago because you won't be able to handle the new environment. So a cure state of decline, now this is the thing with the J juice. When you have cancer, which is a very fast replicating viral anomaly that's in your body that's trying to take over, salt is a cure. I'm not even going to say the J juice. Salt is a cure. Salt neutralizes cancer cells. Salt neutralizes all the different cancer disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, you name it. I don't care what it is. Anything that's causing some kind of situation, yes, salt is a cure. But you don't want to use salt for your autoimmune disorders. You don't want to use salt for your disease. You want to have it in your food supply. But you don't want to use salt as remedy because, again, it'll put you in a cured state of decline. The only way that you can earn a plateau of feeling like you're regularly normal, like me right now, is if you actually feed your body and let the body adapt to the new viruses and you deal with the freaking pain. And that's why they say, oh, putting salt in the wounds. That's always used as a pejorative. Oh, it's like pouring salt in wounds. Yeah, because it's going to be freaking painful in the beginning. But guess what? After a certain amount of time, yes, the pain stops. See, I always say use the J juice or salt for topical, for superficial stuff. And if you're also in a very aggressive diagnosable condition like cancer. Because, yeah, you could take out things out of your body and then you'll be in a more of an accelerated decline. Or you neutralize those cancer cells and then the predominant cells will be activated to then kick out the cancer cells and kick out the anomalies. And then also keep your body going and then using the food in the food supply to code your DNA. So that's why the whole anti-therapeutic campaigns are so asinine, because it's just little evolutions that you can't handle anyways in the environment, or if you do, you're taking organs out, or you're taking your antibiotics, or you're taking all your pills and your powders and your detoxes and your supplements. And so that's why you have to understand what pain is. And so the cure state of decline is the equal sign. It's the neutralizing factor. It's what people live on, is the neutralization, the equilibrium for a certain amount of time. Why is it shorter for some people? Because they have so many conflicting viral programming and their threshold for pain is so minimal that they have so many anomalies that if they take on another cure, whether it's the J juice, whether it's using it as a cure, whether it's anything in the holistic allopathic world, it's not going to work very well because the body is going to want to live and even the cures won't help it. And then that's when cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders are now exponential. But even if you did the salt as a cure for autoimmune disorders and all the other stuff, you'll turn into a beef jerky and you will also age faster, because salt is great for fast replicating cells and to energize your good cells. But over time, using so much of a condensed version like salt water or J juice over a long period of time, look at the people who are on the ocean every single day. Leatherface. They're exposed to the elements. There's really no evolution because the salt is taking away the fat. It's taken away their substance to evolve. It's neutralizing them, and then the environment also is working against them. So now you have two forces. So you're a force, okay? the salt is a force, and then the environment, whether it's the Wi-Fi, it's the whatever, it doesn't even matter. You live in an electrical environment. So now you have 2/3 of your world working against you because you're not supporting and insulating the covalent bonding in your body. And you're missing organs, you're missing limbs, you're missing all these different things in your body, and you don't want to feel with pain and you don't want to deal with it. You want to meditate and do all this other crap that they do in the holistic allopathic, but you don't want to actually face that you have to evolve. You have to deal with all of these different viruses and release the excess and take on the new programming. Here's the thing. I've been dealing with the new variants in my environment, and so I sleep. I don't even have the headaches anymore. I think I had a cough a couple days ago, and I sneezed and I coughed really, really hard, and that was it. It was like one day. And then yes, lately I've been getting up at 5 in the morning, and I'd work for until like the afternoon, and then I get off the computer, watch some Netflix, and catch up on some news, and I take a nap for like 3 freaking hours. Okay, well that's right now part of my evolutionary process. My dog sleeps a lot because she's going through an evolutionary process. So sleep is so paramount when it comes to regenerating. When people don't sleep because they're trying to burn the candle at both ends, that also works against them. And so this is the thing about evolving in this society is you now must set up your life to deal with not only your priorities, like making money so you can feed yourself, but also the rest and regeneration. See, I don't want anyone using J juice as a cure, but I know they're doing that. I have people responding to 2018 videos, my videos from 2018, asking me how their ferments look. I don't even answer them. You know why? Because they're looking at my old information. They're not responding to my new information and my new evolution. No, they're still back in fucking 2018. They're not going to make it. Some of them are very religious, very, very born again Christian, and they don't want to look at the fact that maybe the CDC and the FDA are correct, that maybe you need to face all of these different viral entities and adapt to them, and you have to face the pain. And so when someone asks me questions about their ferments from responding to videos and responding to things I said a couple years ago, I don't even say anymore, on my Facebook, well, if you respond to something, I just ignore them. I just delete the notification. I ignore it because they're not ready for this. They're not ready. They're going to use every cure in the book. They'll take out organs when it comes to that. They will do whatever it takes not to deal with evolution. So I know they're already too far gone. I wish I could help them, but there's no freaking way. I've tried. Let me tell you, I've said many times, stop going to my old information. And guess what? It goes in one ear and out the other. And so I just say whatever. So if they listen to this video, great. They got help. Your ferments look fine. You can't mess up. But I know you're going to use it as a cure, and you're not going to make it in the next 10 years because the environment's going to be so dynamic that every single time you feel something, you're going to take J juice. Every single time you feel something, you're going to take out an organ. Every single time you feel something, you're going to take an antibiotic. That's not the point. We're not trying to do a cure, and we're not trying to do an antibiotic. You feed all the viruses, and the ones that matter will help you, and the ones that don't will be in the freaking toilet. That's how you have to look at viruses. Okay, so I dealt with this COVID pain. I'm telling you, I had muscle spasms too, where I like woke up where my it's like it was weird. It was like the most it was like being in a lucid sleep where the jolt of electricity was so intense that I did see lights. I saw stars. Not like stars in the sky, but I saw so many little pinpoints of stars. And sometimes it's like that. And sometimes, and then the next day you're fine. So I've had bursts of evolution during my sleep. So did my dog. She had seizures for like, weeks and weeks and weeks during her evolution. No, evolving is not fun. Not everybody can handle the energy. And so you have to know in your head that you can handle it. That's the thing about pain. Is that first you have to understand what it is. If you don't understand what pain is, then you won't be able to handle this new environment. You won't be able to handle anything except trying to find a cure or an antibiotic or take out organs. Because let me tell you, when you start feeding your body, the things that you took out of your body are going to start regenerating. And guess what? It's going to be painful. So if you've taken things out of your uterus and then you get off all your antibiotics and all your cures, you're off the J juice because you already reset your body 10 times over. Now you got to feed your body. You're going to feel pain in every single area that you have tempered, cured, or taken something out. People that have appendicitis, yeah, they're going to feel pain in all the areas that they've ever had operations in. And they're like, oh, I thought you're supposed to help you, Jillian. I thought this was to help you. I feel pain here. Well, that's the whole freaking point. That's what people thought I was harming people, right? And I'm now writing about the Hippocratic Oath. And I did write a lot about the Greek mythology and the Greek gods and all the different, like Socrates and Plato and all the different, Western philosophers and all that, and Greek philosophers. And I'm like, I don't need to go into so much detail about all the different gods and demigods. I'm going to make some kind of correlation to the hormones and the viruses that are run by, the hormones are run by viruses, and they can be likened to an immortal, like the germline cells, immortal cells, the Henrietta Lacks tumor cells. And then there's demigods. There are the smaller, less influential viruses. Okay? And those are what runs your world. Those are what gives you the empath type behavior, the aggressive behavior, the warring behavior, the love behavior. I mean, seriously, those demigods are the little viruses that influence every single thing. And so remember the Hippocratic Oath, and why is that hypocrisy is the main thing out there. And the reason why hypocrisy is in politics, religion, and science is because we are in an experimental world. We're still young. Humans are still very young. We haven't fully figured it out. There are more advanced civilizations out there that I can't substantiate, but I know we're not the only ones. And we're still in our infancy and understanding, how to maintain existence on an exponential level indefinitely. And so when you have the Trinity, where you have the pluses and minuses, the little explosions or the large explosions relative to influence, that will birth out evolution and innovation and advanced technology. So there's going to be all of the different wars, pandemics, and chaos and all that stuff. Then will also birth out innovation and evolution. And if you have the substance to handle the wars and the pandemics and the chaos, and you listen to indicators, because I'm telling you, we're not going to have World War II again, where someone else is going to dictate whether or not you live or die. Now you're the one that's going to dictate whether or not you live or die in this world. You are now given a choice. But you have to understand pain. If you want to go and follow the holistic allopathic world, and then you're anti-therapeutic, then you're speaking out both sides of your mouth. That's the hypocrisy that you're not going to survive. See, there's hypocrisy where you won't survive the environment because you don't understand your arguments. And there's hypocrisy where the people purposely make things hypocritical because they want to see the activity coming from that. And so if you're being hypocritical, then you don't have enough information to understand why you're being hypocritical. And those that actually put together two conflicting arguments understand that they're being hypocritical and they're doing it for a reason. And they've also accepted the fact that of their state, like Biden, he's not getting any younger. So he's accepted his station in life to be this mouthpiece to put out the hypocrisy. No different than Fauci and the CDC, because there's nothing wrong with them, but they want to put you in a cured state, but they realize they're dealing with people who are at different levels of deficit. So they have to front pedal and back pedal, and that's like hypocrisy, right? You're like, oh God, Fauci is fake. Well, Fauci is like anyone else out there that's dealing with people who are in a different cured state of decline. They have to deal with the very sensitive population and the very strong population. How do you cater to both when both are diametrically opposing each other? Well, you got to play the hypocritical game. And then from those explosions, the mini explosions and the large explosions, then you have birth of innovation and evolution. And so that is what's going on right now. So pain is the evolution. What you do with this pain is going to be different, so whether or not you survive this environment or you pass away in it. Okay? And so that's why people think that life is death and death is life, is because they have been living from a cured state of decline. And some cured state of declines are longer than others. You can have someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's like 89 or 85, had a long life in the high Supreme Court justice, and she was groomed and knew her job so well. And that's why some of these positions in power are lifelong, because it wouldn't make sense to keep changing out Supreme Court justices every freaking year. Some, the attrition rate just because of age and all that stuff. But, if we are curing people for like less than 100 years, then they can handle being in that position that's lifelong for 50, 20, 30, 40 years. Just like some of these rulers back in, back in the olden days, the civilization, the kings and the queens. Some run for 30 years. I mean, look at some of the North Korea or other, like Cuba or all this different countries that had people in rule for a long, long time. Your lifespan can have you rule for a long ass time, and then you have new blood that goes and evolves. So that's what's going on right now. So that's why America is so young. That's why we don't have a king and queen. We have every 4 years we have a new president. That's why? Because it's new blood. It's new, even though it's not really new blood, they're still being groomed, but it's still the new explosions, new information, new experiences, even though it's run by the same stuff, wars, pandemics, and chaos, social upheaval. I mean, have been studying like the 1960s and, the 1940s or 1930s and 40s and then the 1960s. And then you have now the 2020s. It's all the same stuff, the communes and the off-grids and all people that want to eat organic. And now as everyone's like demonizing food because they don't understand food. Yes. And their immune system is so cattywampus that they have to demonize food because they don't know anything else. Because as soon as they eat food and they feel something, they think that food is poison. And no different than, with salt. They're like, oh God, I feel something was a salt, it's poison. And that's the very simple mindset in humans today who cannot handle pain. As soon as they feel something, I don't care what it is, they start blaming someone for, oh, you hurt me, you did this to me. Because that's the whole thing with the Hippocratic Oath. This is what I'm right about the Hippocratic Oath, is why I'm so pissed off at the medical industry. Because yes, they're also practicing hypocrisy, but they're trying to get evolution. But I'm sorry, you can't do all this evolution, can't do all these experiments on bodies that have so many viral programming, doesn't know what to do with all the viral programming that's conflicting. And so then the virus, the biggest virus, the newest virus, the most aggressive, influential virus is going to be the one that's going to neutralize and reset everything back to almost zero. Not quite zero, because we're not trying to do extinction events, but to almost zero. And then birth new babies that don't have as many conflicting programming, and then do more cures on them, and then watch their next generations either evolve or devolve or who knows what. Okay, so just like when you're a scientist, pretend you're a scientist, okay, and you have a petri dish and you're putting all these different solutions and all these different viruses and different things. Eventually the petri dish is going to be so full of just conflicting programming that there is not pure anymore. You're not getting a real clear conclusion because there's so much conflicting programming. And so that's why new viruses, like major viruses, are going to be like a new chalkboard. Okay. And that's what's kind of going on right now. And so we're seeing a very controlled state of decline right now in our society with this new virus. And so you have to understand what pain is, or else you're not going to survive this event. You won't survive it. And even when they mandate the therapeutics, you'll survive it if you understand to feed the viruses. Feed the programming. Let me tell you, you have a predominant programming. That little therapeutic pales in comparison to what your body is able to do. That's why people live through these therapeutics, because they still have a predominant programming. Yes, it's being manipulated, no different than when you go outside and you hang out with your friends and family who have mutating viruses. You still are you haven't turned into your friends and family. Well, some of you have, because you're so cloned with their ideology that you haven't got out of that mindset of following the crowd. But you still go to your house and do what you do. You still have your memories. You still have your priorities. You still do your daily activities, though maybe with less energy because your body is depleting. But imagine if you got the therapeutics, if you had to. Imagine if you were out there in a crowd without a mask and you felt something, and then you fed whatever you felt with food. And then finally you took a nap, you took a poop and all that stuff, and you feel great. And you're like, oh, wow. And that's the thing. I felt the pain of the COVID. I was coughing so hard and so deep. It was like, but I still had clear lungs. I knew I knew I could survive it because I've survived other pains. I've had headaches. I had leg aches, muscle spasms that were so intense. I've had cramps. I've had, which now my period hasn't happened yet. My last period was like in July. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get it in the next couple of days. I don't know. But I've had, major, just, different pains from all and skin conditions. I remember having so many yeast infections, constipation, hemorrhoids, headaches again, arm pain, throbbing. I mean, just the last couple of days I had, muscle pain in my arms. It wasn't bad. I just dealt with it. I didn't take anything. I eat food. I just eat my regular food. I eat the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs, the bread. I love the Pillsbury Grands, the Hawaiian bread. There is nothing off the table for me. I don't play the discrimination game because all the people who are on the diets and the discrimination game, they are not giving their body any ammunition to deal with their environment. And that's why people die, is because they have deprived themselves, for one, of nutrition, and then they deal with pain in a very antibiotic way. They're getting their surgeries, they're getting all their different things. And so that's why the system out there is making fun of everyone who's anti-therapeutic and pro-therapeutic. Because they know it's not going to make a difference if you can't handle pain anyways. You won't be able to handle the pain in its raw environment. There's no freaking way you're going to be able to handle the pain in some of the lesser heat versions. And so they're like, hey, whatever, have your voice. That's why Facebook isn't really, like, I talk about, like, I don't really have to go I still say code words like therapeutic. I don't actually say the VACC, whatever. Because, I'm still programmed, because every single time we talked about it a couple months back, maybe less than a year ago, they were putting you on some kind of warning. No, you're giving misinfo. And some people are still getting censored because the way they characterize things, saying it's poison, saying this and this, that. No, there's no poison out there offered by the FDA, the CDC, or the USDA. The reason why you think it's poison is because you have so many deficits that you can't handle your environment. So what they're offering out there is no different than your environment. And so either way, if you can't handle the therapeutic, you definitely can't handle the freaking environment. So you're screwed either way. So you shouldn't be misinforming people that things are poison. Because it says that your environment's poison. No, your environment's not poison. We have the EPA to understand there's an equilibrium and a certain amount of parts per million from factories and from industry, that they shouldn't be like other countries where you see black smoke all the time. I mean, like LA, before the COVID was like always this layer of smog in the basin, the LA basin. And then when the COVID came around, everyone's going home and staying home and everyone's working from home. All the smog cleared up. Well, obviously, human activity does promote a lot of pollution. I mean, right there is case in point. So humans do produce a lot of energy. What you do with that energy is the difference. Pain is the energy. Pain is energy. Just call it, that's what it is. It's the energy coming from your body. When my dog kind of whines at night, because every time we lay down to sleep, it's when her body's going through its reparations and all that stuff, and she whines a bit. Well, I know it's energy because her body is going through stuff. And so how the energy is expressed is through her mouth, through her whining. And I just pet her. I give her some coconut oil because it's a good part of her diet to help control her yeast, but not destroy it, but help control it. And it's good. It's very low level type of, it's a food that's not too aggressive, but it's part of her diet. And so I just calm her down and she's fine. And then she circles a few times, digs and does her little stuff and makes her bed. And then she sleeps and she sleeps right through. And yes, during the day, sometimes her mucus comes out of her orifices in the back end. And you're like, ooh, but that's the body releasing. Okay, so pain is just energy. What you do with that energy, how you convert it, is really up to you. And some of you are giving off so much energy and you don't have any ability to convert it because you're giving off so much energy. Oh my God, anti this and anti that, pro this and pro that. And there is no return on that investment because you're not getting anything from Facebook because you are absorbing all the crap out there that's taxing your body, and you're also giving off energy that's not giving you any return. You could be eating, but you already don't want to feel pain, or you wouldn't be on the keyboard warrior because you think that they're producing the pain and the issues. Oh. I'm telling you, that's why Jeju's got so much bad rap, because people didn't understand. I knew what pain was. I didn't know how to express it in the way that it needed to be expressed back in 2018, but I knew what pain was. It was something that needed to be dealt with. I've watched my friends and family drown themselves in alcohol, drugs, sex, high adrenaline types of adventures, exercise. That's how they dealt with pain. Or they're out there protesting. Or they're out there taking out their organs and their limbs. That's how they dealt with pain. I watched them, and I watched them deteriorate. I watched them go from one drug to another drug to an alcohol to taking out organs systematically, one by one. And then I see the difference in their face. I see the difference in the way they think and the way they feel. And I'm like, I don't want to end up like those people. I do not want to end up like them. And so I learned from my community just watching people, how they deal with pain. And every single time they dealt with pain by taking something out or using a drug or alcohol or something else, they become further and further behind the 8 ball. And then the body has no choice but to either have a major event to say, wake the fuck up and let me live, or they pass away from all of their habits because they don't want to deal with pain. And when you're going to the hospital getting things taken out systematically, you think you're going to freaking survive? No, I'm sorry. The therapeutics are not ones that are destroying you. You are destroying you. The therapeutics out there are a lesser version of the environment. And yes, they do say on the inserts, these are the different things that might happen. And yes, death might happen for those that don't have what it takes to deal with the energy. Okay? Because this is all thermodynamics. It's all thermodynamics. There's front end energy and there's back end energy. So you can bring in energy on the front end, but if you're not retaining and releasing the balance way on the back end, there's no freaking way you're going to survive this environment. No freaking way. And so all the cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders, aside from death, are all points of evolution that tells you that you need to deal with your shit and you need to get rid of conflicting programming. You need to go and release the excess. And then once you do several resets on your body with the J juice or salt, I don't care what it is, then you feed your body and you deal with the bloating. You deal with all the uncomfortable. Let me tell you, I've dealt with the uncomfortable feelings. I dealt with the bloating. I drink coffee sometimes and cream, or I eat, like now I just discovered probiotics through Activia. So I eat a yogurt that has probiotics in it. And that I felt some evolution. I felt energy from those to the Activia, and I also, it helped me poop too. Not that I needed to help poop. I poop every morning. And now it's like every 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm up with my husband. My husband's up at around 3 or 4, and I hear him, and then I'm like, I'm up. I have to pee. I have to pee at least twice in the night because my body's releasing. So I just take care of my body's needs, and I feed it. Okay? And I feed it. Some of you are like, oh, I don't want to feel pain. I got to have a six-pack. I got to go and exercise and do all these things. Yeah, those are in the yoga industry. Those are in the exercise regime industry. When you're an athlete and you're, trapping energy in your muscles, and your muscles need for it to flex, it needs to use the sugar. So that's why people who lift weights and everything, they have less fat, which means you have less protection against any kind of event or any kind of viral stuff. Okay? Less ability to regenerate and heal from wounds and all that, from superficial wounds or major wounds. And it also taxes your body. Okay? You don't have enough insulation around your heart, your lungs, and all that stuff. So you don't have as much adipose tissue. And so someone who is weightlifting is trapping so much energy, or not even weightlifting, they're just like athletes, like major athletes. They're trapping all this energy in their body that's taxing them. And the energy out there in the universe is taxing them. And then, of course, they eat a very, an athletic diet. They probably don't eat a lot of meat, because when you're an athlete and you're in the whole health and wellness world, you are depriving yourself of food, or you have such small portions because you want to keep your little six-pack and all of your little stuff. I got a little bit of a belly. I'm fine with that. That's the insulation. That's my world. That's the universe, is my belly and my universe. As soon as you start trying to do a six-pack on your belly and you taking out your organs and your uterus and all that, you are destroying your world. You're destroying your life force. And so anyways, so when you are weightlifting or working out and all that stuff, that energy is working against you. And so that's why I say those that are in the workout industry, the yoga, all this different exercise stuff, that's two forces working against them. And of course, when you're in that industry, you're also going to be depriving yourself of food. And so At this point, I would not encourage your kids to be athletes. I would encourage them to, yes, go and be active, but don't focus on being so athletic that you're trying to compete. Because nowadays, anyone that's trying to compete out there, they're going to be on a specific diet and they're going to want to look a specific way, and you'll have a very short lifespan because you won't balance out that energy that's taken from you by adding more to your life, because then guess what? You feel the pain of evolution, because you're going to have to deal with the viruses. And athletes usually go, and actually all athletes love working out because the endorphins is what then tempers the evolutionary energy. And that's why athletes age faster. That's why athletes will not survive this environment. You're seeing some of these Olympians and ex-Olympians that are dying at age 24. They're dying younger. You know why? Because their practices. They're so underweight because they're runners, or they're so like burly and buff. They might have some insulation to them, but there's mostly muscle, and they're taxing their vital organs already. They tax them at a young age, and that's why they get them at a young age. That's why the system gets you at a young age, because you can be in a cured state for a certain amount of time, and then that cured state turns into a decline, and then it's managing your decline. That's what life is in our society, is managing your cured state of decline, if you even survive. So now I understand, because I was wrestling in my head, how am I going to position why people accept death as an outcome? And then they justify it through politics, religion, and science. I'm telling you, that those justifications from the politics, religion, and science is so easy to make someone feel like it's okay to pass away. I'm telling you, people love it. They welcome it. I've had people say, I don't care. I don't care. And then when they realize how close death is because of all the virus stuff and all the things they feel because of the evolution, and they're like, oh my God, then they're like, okay, maybe I might do a little bit of changing, maybe. I'm telling you, these viruses are only going to get stronger and stronger. And if you're not building your body up and strengthening it, the viruses are going to cannibalize you. Like, I'm serious. That's why you have to counter that force of energy with insulation. But you don't want to be too overweight either, because obese people will tax their vital organs, and they will have diabetes. They will have heart conditions. They will have cancer too. They already have tumors. When you have that much retention of energy, because the reason why you have so much fat is because you have so many conflicting viruses are sending off messages here, produce more fat, and retain it. And so then tumors happen, and tumors turn into cancer. And then also you have heart conditions, and you have other things that go on when you're obese. So you can't be too underweight, you can't be too overweight in our society. You have to be just right and be able to handle this dynamic environment, and it's only going to get more dynamic. And so that's how you have to look at pain. Pain is evolution, but it must be supported with the covalent insulation bonding. Because you're just like a PCB, a printed circuit board. You have your relays of energy and electricity and nodes and all that stuff, and then different points where it stops and all that stuff. And then you have the insulation. So you have some kind of a basis point to direct the energy and keep it in a certain way so it doesn't release. And that's why insulation is great, because it keeps the temperature relatively, stable within your environment. So when you're out there in the heat, yeah, it's hot. The heat's oppressive. You can't be in so much heat. Like my husband, I don't know how the hell he does it. He's out there every freaking day in this heat, 92 degrees and 100% humidity, or 100 degrees out here in Ohio. It's been very, very hot, and he's just like a freaking machine. And I make sure that he's hydrated and he's fed. Trying to get probiotics in him is like pulling teeth. I mean, I figured the yogurt probiotics would be good, but oh no, he doesn't want to do that either. I mean, so whatever. But yeah, so, having insulation in your body is going to help you with oppressive heat as well as bitter cold. And if you are underweight or you're overweight and you don't have a real good gauge on controlling your internal temperature, you're not going to survive. The environment's going to freaking kick your ass. And so you have to know that you can deal with pain. And I faced that COVID respiratory issue head on. And I heard the whisperings in my ear from the virus. I'm telling you, the viruses have energy. They have cell memory. Viruses are like they are the ghosts in our universe. They are the snapshots, the little television sets of looping memories. And they do get into people's bodies. And that's why people sometimes hear the voice of God, right? That's why we have religion, because people hear the voice of God from these viruses. And then these viruses then translate into a human who's speaking kind of the same way or speaking something very different than you've ever heard because you've been looping in your own viral loops. And then that's why people worship people. And maybe we don't have to do that. We don't have to worship anyone. You understand the power of you, that you are the one that controls every aspect of your universe. And I'm telling you, if someone's coming after you and they're threatening you in your own home, then you have every right to fight back. But there is no enemy out there. That's the thing that y'all are freaking tripping on, is you think there's an enemy out there. No, the enemy is you. You are making your world better or you're making your world worse. You are the one that controls every aspect of your universe, because in the Western world, we have infrastructure. We have people in place that if you really are out of control, that you can call a professional, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's a fire department, whether it's a paramedic or a doctor or a nurse. If you don't know any better, then you call somebody. And then you can't be bitching how that you can't survive in this environment when you're calling someone else to deal with your life. The only people that I need in my life are the government to make sure the roads are paved, to make sure that I have food in my grocery store, because I don't play the whole grow your own garden game. I mean, that's great, but I'm sorry, the energy is in the processed food. And I need my government to keep the water running and the climate control. That's it. I don't need my government for anything else. I don't hang out with so many people where I'm going to have a conflict with somebody. If anything, I stay away from people. I will have certain people that I'll hang out with on an occasional basis. But the more people you bring into your world, the more drama ensues, the more that you have to feel entertained and go out there with the crowds and be like everything is great, the more you're going to put yourself in a position of out of control. Now, I'll go to the grocery store. I'll maybe occasionally go out to eat with my husband, but I cook at home or we get takeout. We watch like a movie or something. We live very simply. He likes to fish. That's a very solitary or thing you do with a couple, is fishing and no one messing with you unless you're going out with people at the same time, during holidays. And right now, the summer, everyone's out there freaking boating and doing stuff. So I try to right now I'm in the process of writing and developing a thought process, and I'm taking information from Netflix and from the news and my news feed on Facebook. That's my world right now, because I'm trying to accomplish something. Trying to say the same thing in a different way, in a most succinct and the most clear way. It's not easy when you haven't fully figured out how to say everything. Okay? So my world is very, very chill, and that's the whole point, is to finally just, be okay with being on your own. And that's the hardest thing in our society, is everybody wants to be out there with each other, entertaining each other and whatever. And right now, that's not where my head's at. I don't need to be entertained except for in my home. I control everything in my world. And the only thing I need from my government is just the infrastructure to keep the basic stuff going. But I ultimately take care of what I put in my body and what goes out of my body. And so when you're calling professionals and you're getting things taken out, and you are a professional trying to dictate someone's life, and then you're pissed off at the government, well, you're the one that put yourself as a professional. And then you're the one that's also asking for a professional. So those that procure professionals in the health and wellness world, as well as a professional, you guys are begetting each other. You guys are in a loop, in a dance, that you have no room to complain, because you've chosen your career field and you've chosen to partake in those industries. And so there shouldn't be any kind of complaints about what happens to your body, mind, and spirit. And the environment is what it is. You're either going to adapt to it or not. What you do with the energy in the environment is up to you. And some of you will not survive. I already know it. A lot of my JJers will not survive. A handful will. But a lot of my J juices will not survive because they use J juice as a cure for a certain amount of time. Or they clearly got off of it and they're still taking to their pills, powders, and supplements and detoxes. And so either way, if you can't deal with pain, no matter what, you won't be able to survive. You won't. You must know that you can deal with pain. And the first thing is when you feel a tickle, you don't take anything for that tickle. I allowed the cough to develop before I did a shot of J juice because I'm like, oh my God, should I help some of the mucus out? So I did a shot of J juice, I think twice, during that 3-week interlude of dealing with the COVID respiratory. And then I just coughed everything out, slept for days, coughed, slept, had the weird ass dreams right before, weird ass dreams during the process. And then eventually everything was fine. Here I am today. Okay? And I've gotten little variants thereafter, and they were very, very small. So I'm waiting for this fall to happen because there'll be more mutating viruses. And, this is the season for it. So it is what it is. And I will deal with it. And I have no fear. So if you have fear of pain, I don't care what it is, and you're taking stuff for all your pain, and you're not off the J juice by now, and you've been on it for a while, you're not going to survive. And I'll be quite honest, you will not survive. All right, good luck. Bye.